Welcome to the Cash Pay Podcast, the go-to podcast for med spas, IV therapy clinics, and wellness practices ready to grow, scale, and lead in the cash pay medical space. I'm your host, Hilary Small, founder of the Med Spa Society. I've branded, developed, and launched practices across the U.S., and I'm still in the trenches every day working alongside practice owners just like you. The show is honest, authentic, and built on real-world experience. Each week, you'll get expert strategies and unfiltered insights on marketing, operations, cutting-edge treatments, patient experience, and more, so you can run a profitable, efficient, and rewarding business. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Cash Pay Podcast. I'm your host, Hilary Small, founder of the Med Spa Society. In this episode, I'm joined by two incredible industry experts for a conversation on the art of the client experience and how to sell both inside and outside of the treatment room. We dive into building trust from the very first interaction, creating emotional connections that drive retention, and using both in-person consultations and social media to pre-sell your services. Let's dive into today's episode. Elizabeth is an internationally licensed esthetician and spa consultant with over 20 years of experience in luxury beauty, including names like Saks Fifth Avenue, Waldorf Astoria, and the Soho Grand. After leading education programs for top spas, she founded EMD Skin Solutions, helping spa owners and estheticians worldwide deliver exceptional client experiences. Elizabeth's expertise has been featured in New Beauty, InStyle, Fortune, and over 50 other publications. Today, she specializes in teaching beauty and wellness professionals how to create treatment plans that clients can't wait to say yes to. And Meghan, I'm excited to welcome Meghan. I admired Meghan's work from afar, and Elizabeth introduced us, and I'm so excited to have Meghan here today. She's the founder of Marketing with Meg. With over a decade of marketing experience, she specializes in helping estheticians and spa owners build engaged communities and boost bookings through authentic content and social media strategy. Having supported thousands of professionals, she's featured in Skin Inc., Dermascope, and more. Meghan draws from her own experience struggling with acne to emphasize the emotional confidence boosting impact of skincare. Today, she empowers solo estheticians and spa leaders to create content that pre-sells treatment plans and builds trust before clients ever walk through the door. So,
Thank
with
you.
all of that being said, again, thank you both so much for
Oh, thanks for having us.
here. And I want to start off with Elizabeth. I think starting off with you talking about things that both, because it's both, you work with both providers, but also the team, right? The team at a spa or a med spa to help them feel more confident and natural when it comes to selling. Correct?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I
Yes.
think talking a little bit about how you, first of all, how they find you, and then from there, how you work with these practices to help them improve. Like, what is the process? What is it that you do?
So logistically, where they'd find me, I have a website, elizabethdonat.com. And so basically, you'll see several categories there, articles that I've published, a book that I'm working on. Now, there's always some projects, but the core of my business has always been working with estheticians and spas, and specifically in spa consulting. And sometimes it can be done virtually, but really my love is going into the spa and really honing their client experience and service flow. So I come from a 5-star background. I'm New York licensed and internationally licensed, as you mentioned. So all of my experience when I was coming up the ranks as an esthetician was celebrity spas, Park Avenue, Fifth Avenue, some of the institutions that you mentioned. So I was lucky enough to work in places that very few people have access to, right? So when you're in those places, you learn some of these soft skills that we know now are some of the greatest assets to your business. So I've taken everything I've learned over 20 years of being on the front lines and being on my feet and being with the people and, put it into a framework where I go into spas and I teach these things. Some of it is like some, I guess you'd say, technical business stuff. I've helped clients with their protocols and their menus and things like that. But really where I shine is like the flow of service and the client experience from start to finish. And then sales skills, skin analysis skills, and then consultation skills, which we're going to talk about today. So it is probably the most important thing. And the way it's informing my work now is that I do feel like many people feel so disconnected in this day and age. We're living in the age of AI, we're living in a disconnected world. So these soft skills and these techniques are going to set you apart if you can master them. And so that's the focus from
Yeah.
here on out.
No, 100%. And I think that it is a asset, the fact that you were an esthetician and have now taken what you learned actually working within spas and are able to apply it based on real world experience. That makes such a difference.
Yes.
I have the same background having worked in practices too. Like you understand it from a different level
Yes.
versus someone who doesn't have that experience. And actually, something that I failed to mention before we go any further is so Elizabeth and Megan have worked together for a long time because their talents complement each other. So that's
Yes.
why this conversation today, I think, is going to be so valuable. Again,
Mhm.
with Elizabeth's on the ground experience and then Megan's depth of knowledge when it comes to even before somebody enters the spa, the practice, even before they like warming them up, letting them know
Mhm.
like this is what you're gonna get. This is what's happening. So the approaches complement each other so much. So
Mhm.
I would say going back to you, Elizabeth, if you want to talk just a little bit more about, I think the process when it comes, because I hear this is where I think people struggle. I think that they struggle with feeling too salesy. So
Mm.
they don't want to feel like they're selling.
Yes.
And they can't overcome if you don't have that natural ability. Some people have the natural ability, right? Some providers have the natural ability to be able to sell and not have it because they're not selling, right? They're
Right.
recommending. So,
Mhm. Yes.
what are the things that you do and you help with your coaching to help, whether it be the provider or the team, to rise to that comfort level?
Well, I'd say the mindset shift, and this is again going back to like my experience being in a spa. Like when you're working in a spa, it's such a tight knit family, right? You're in this like production. It's like you're putting on a theatrical performance. There's so much chaos going behind the scenes, but to the patient or the client, it's like this beautiful day for them experience. So we, often don't remember what the client experience is about. We forget that they're coming in from a completely different perspective than we are, because this is all normal and we're used to this, right? This is our world that we live in. So I think the biggest mindset shift that you can do with sales is that you are literally giving, you're not just selling, you're not even just educating. Like, yes, you will do that at some point. You're inviting that patient, that client into your world. Because what happens is a lot of times clients, especially, get intimidated when they walk into a spa, especially in medical aesthetics, where people look so good. If you walk into a really like upscale med spa, you look at the staff alone and you're like, oh my God, everyone here looks perfect and I don't look good. Do I even belong here? And so that client is automatically coming in with all their insecurities, feeling like they don't belong, feeling like they're not good enough, they're not rich enough to be there, or whatever the feeling may be. There's so many layers to it. So, really, sales starts at making them feel welcome and like they are part of this world and you're welcoming them with open arms. So, once you make that mindset shift, it becomes pretty easy after that. There can't be a disconnection. It has to be full connection from the very beginning. And then, as I know we're going to go into, I'm huge on consultations and treatment plans. That is like the hill that I would die on. But if I think you have any type of client facing business, especially in beauty, spa, wellness, then you have to, what you said so perfectly is you're laying groundwork. You're laying trust from the very beginning with those consultations and care plans. And that's how you get clients to, say yes to you along the way and become clients for life. So we could talk more about that as well.
So, my next question, and this is for both of you because you've worked together in the past. How is the marketing? So, specifically the social media marketing, which I feel like the med spas that I work with, the practices that I work, they put a lot of emphasis on their social platforms. And a lot of times they're putting emphasis on it without a plan, right? Without truly understanding what the goal is. So, I'm curious to understand, and the listeners too, like how that messaging on social and even beyond is complementing then what they're coming into. Like, how is it already starting to like create that connection and warm them up?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, what I always say when it comes to marketing is that you get to paint the picture of what is normal, of what's to be expected for your business. So that's what a lot of med spas and estheticians can do through social media is if you want to create a space that's welcoming and inviting where someone's going to walk in and they're not going to feel judged or they're not going to feel like what they want to achieve is unattainable. It's you can set that standard through your social media and your messaging, whether it's like you want to be more welcoming with your content. Or I know for this talk, we're going to talk a lot about selling treatment plans specifically. So you paint what is normal online in your captions, in your reels, if you're doing a talking reel. If you want people to come in for treatment plans, you talk about that as it's normal, right? Because it is normal. I think a
Mhm.
lot of med spas and estheticians, they really doubt their power. In a lot of my work, I say that you're a skincare celebrity because you kind of are, right? You have all this experience, your staff has all this experience, people look up to you, and that provides you with a lot of power in persuasion. Well, underestimate their power in persuasion and the fact that their followers and clients want to be led.
True.
A lot of social media can help you paint that picture before someone even comes into your spa. It's just so amazing.
Yeah, well, I also think too, it's that comfort level again. So, which goes
Mhm.
hand in hand. So, on social media, when you're working with clients and when you're helping them to support their content, specifically when it comes to recording themselves on video and talking about these things, because I do agree that that is the most impactful thing you can do is create that connection through education and letting them know. But how do you work with them to, in a similar way to Elizabeth does, like on at the location and directly, how do you work with them to help them overcome the fears of putting themselves out there to do that and create that connection?
So a lot of how you get over that fear is by having a proper like a lot of professionals will come to me and they say, I just am so overwhelmed. I can't even think about putting myself on camera. And a lot of it starts at figuring out your strategy. Like, who are you talking to? What are their pain points? Where are they right now mentally before working with you? Where are they going to be during? And then where are they going to be after? And then create a content strategy around that and then schedule out your content. Because when you schedule out a large portion of your content, you're all of a sudden opening up hours each week to put yourself out there and to show your face, which is more of the, I'd say it's more of a hard hitting content because I always say you're putting your hands on someone's face. They need to see your face on their feed. They need to hear your voice because you're touching such an intimate part of it. You're touching their face, how they show up in society. There's trust is really needed for
Yeah.
that.
Yes, so true.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, just continuously doing it just makes
Consistency.
with both things, right? If you're continuously honing in on your craft of creating content, you're continuously honing in on your craft of becoming authentic when it comes
Mhm.
to selling, that is huge. So, going back to you, Elizabeth, and talking a little bit more about what are the biggest challenges that you're helping. So, are you working mostly with providers? You're working mainly with the people who are performing the services, right?
Right.
And when you go in and you assess, what their challenges are, what is your process? Like what are the things that you're doing with them, and how when can they start actually seeing an impact of the actually working on the issue of sales to overcome that and affect their bottom line?
So, I guess 2 parts. So, like, number 1, the way that I like to work, and I fit this into my packages, is that I'd start with secret shopping. So, I feel like you have to get in there like a spy in the beginning and interact with the staff and see how this experience goes from going to the website, booking the appointment, or calling and booking the appointment all the way through to getting your, off the table and walking out the door. So I'm a firm believer that you have to go in and secret shop because everyone's going to be on their A game when they know someone's there evaluating them. So I feel like the best way is to go in and experience it firsthand and see exactly how those conversations are landing, feel the emotional tone and texture of everything that's going on, and really like taking notes. Like I can basically just tell you, I have my own scale basically where I can say, this is what I experienced. And part of the work that I'm doing right now is about like how the experience lands emotionally. And the research that I'm doing shows that, we know that there's positive experiences, negative experiences, but there's also this neutral realm that most client facing experiences go into, this like neutral bucket, but that's actually one of the most dangerous places to be, is where the emotional tone and sales aren't landing because clients feel kind of, it's fine. It's like ambivalent. Like kind of the feeling is like, it was good. I would maybe give them one more chance. Most client experiences fall within that neutral bucket. So it's not horribly negative. It's not 5-star outstanding, but it's right there in the middle. So once I detect that most of the experiences are right there in the middle, we know what we have to tweak, like turn the dials, so to speak, to get things where they need to be, because clients don't buy from neutral experiences where they feel uninspired and they feel like it was a forgettable experience. So it's really about turning up the volume on that.
Mhm.
So really evaluating that, number one, and then number two, taking that data and saying this is where you need to turn up the volume to get an experience that converts.
And one of the points that we talked about too prior to was thought leadership.
Yes.
How that plays a role into the whole process and credibility. And I think that again, this bridges both,
Yep.
uh, both of you,
Mhm.
because that thought leadership, in marketing can be so impactful,
Mhm.
as well as obviously, getting the person actually in the door,
Mhm.
that credibility to the advantage when it comes to the entire process. So, can we talk a little bit about the thought leadership and Elizabeth, how you are able to help providers and the clients that you work with establish that thought leadership? And then, Megan, how you advise them to implement that thought leadership when it comes to their content?
Sure. So thought leadership, and if you're a provider, whether you're a solo esthetician all the way up to like a multi-physician practice, right? We're living in a world where this beauty and wellness industry is very saturated. If you're in a big city, there's a med spa on every corner, every block, right? So if you're going to be someone who represents a brand, runs a brand, you have to differentiate yourself. So how you do that is you have a strong point of view. And what you want to do is you want to take your point of view, whatever it is, and you want to amplify it. And the best way to do that is to start getting your name in the press. Start speaking out. So, the two things that I teach, and I have a course like on my website, I have an area just for beauty and wellness pros. It's a navigation area. And you can see that I have the press and PR mastermind on demand. So I created a course literally just for beauty and wellness and med spa professionals to learn how to pitch themselves to magazines, develop thought leadership, how to talk about what their opinions are. Because the issue that we have right now in our industry is that you have a lot of people who are brilliant, let's say injectors or brilliant estheticians, but they go on and they just start spitting out recycled facts and skincare tips and the same advice over and over again. And the patient and the consumer is getting really bored with that. The patient has access to ChatGPT now and Google. They don't need your dry skincare tips. They can look that up themselves. What
Right.
they want to see is a leader in the industry going on and saying, this is what I believe in. This is what I don't believe in. This is what I do. This is what I avoid. This is the future of the industry that I see happening in 5 years. They want to see someone who not only knows their craft, but has like synergistically created their own platform about their craft. So my course helps you to do all of that. And it's getting people amazing results. They're getting quoted in Vogue and NBC and the Today Show and all these huge platforms because we know so much as practitioners, but how do you amplify it and get out there and show the world that you are someone that can be trusted? When you start getting press logos on your website and you start getting quoted in articles, you get invited to podcasts like this, it shows that you are someone who has authority in their niche. And that is the best marketing superpower, I
Mhm.
think, that cuts through the noise time and time again. So, yes, that's something that I do. And I feel very strongly that people that are interested in that should go for it for
Yeah,
sure.
Mhm. Totally
absolutely.
agree. Elizabeth's course is amazing. Like,
Thank you.
it just makes it so much more attainable. So many estheticians and spa owners feel like, "Well, I read Vogue, I could never be posted in there." But she
Yeah.
shows you how it literally no, you can.
Yeah, you can.
And it's
Yeah.
not unattainable, and it can do amazing things for your business. And where I come into play with your marketing is once you get that logo, once you get that article, you put that everywhere. Like a
Yeah.
lot
Blow
of what
it
I
up.
teach, you
Yep.
blow it up. A lot of what I teach online is helping estheticians and spa owners step into their braggy era because in order this also comes and influences their sales. You have to be so obsessed with your business, obsessed with your philosophies, obsessed with yourself. And it's not bad because that's when you show up authentically. That's when selling can kind of feel second nature because you're not stepping into this fake persona. You genuinely feel so strongly about the results, about your practice, about everything you offer that it can just flow naturally. And it's not bragging. Like, I want to remove the stigma where estheticians feel like it feels so weird to sell. It's like you're not. Like, it's the only way you're going to survive in today's beauty industry because you hear that it's saturated, it's saturated. So why are you so scared to put your hand in the pot and be like, "No, I'm awesome too. What I offer is awesome and I get these amazing results from my clients."
Hmm.
Yeah, well, it's confidence, right? So I
It's
think
confidence. Yeah.
106 so I think it's like a 360-degree approach.
Mhm.
So all of these things and having the credibility that comes from things like being featured in an article, public relations, whatever you want to call it, by getting that credibility, that creates,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Then that confidence translates to how you approach your business, how you approach your treatments, how you approach your content and
Mhm.
your marketing, and
Everything.
also the perception of your prospective clients and your patients. So it just,
Mhm.
Yes.
again, all of these things working together, making the goal
Mhm.
of creating more revenue, creating more success for your business, making it easier. So I want to jump back a little bit. So that credibility part in thought leadership, extremely important and
Mhm.
Yes.
definitely plays a role. When it comes to the treatment plans and consultation, I want to give the listeners some really tangible advice that they can take and put into practice within their businesses. So, when it comes to the consultation, what are some pointers and things that can be said during a consultation? So, somebody is in there and the client comes in and they're like, I think I want Botox. I think I need this. I think I need that. What are you coaching them when it comes to the consultation to again make it second nature and make that patient feel so comfortable in the conversation, in that consultation, that they're like, this is it. Like I'm ready. Let's go. Let's move forward.
The thing that I always like to say is that before you even till we talk about like the ins and outs of the conversation is that like, do you have a proper consultation on your menu and in the framework of your spa? This is a big one. I've had so many awkward moments, whether I'm working with a client or whether me myself, like as a person, is going to a spa where it's not clear if a consultation is going to happen. It's not clear when the consultation will be. It's not clear if I'm going to have my consultation and my first injection on the same day. So like you need to be super crystal clear on like what your actual consultation process is. That's number 1. So it should be treated like a service on your menu. Your consultation should be very obvious. It should also be very obvious that like you're a first time patient. This is the protocol. You come in, you have a 45-minute sit down, and then we schedule your treatments another day. Like they should know what that flow is going to be. It gets very awkward when it's that's like unknown. And then the other thing to realize about consultations, and then I'll get into some like the scripting, is that there are different kinds of consultations. There's a first time patient consultation, there's follow up consultations, there's pre and post treatment consultations. Like, let's say you've mostly been seeing someone for like neuromodulator, and then all of a sudden they want to do like a deep fractional laser. Well, I'm going to do a different consultation for that because I'm explaining like a completely different modality to them. So there should be a defined consultation pathway for your patients. And then I would say, if we're getting into what to say, I guess one more step even before that is the mindset of a consultation is this, and I love this theory. It comes from Vanessa Van Edwards. She's like, she studies people and behavior and like like cues. And she says that we have to focus on the idea of charisma. And she defines charisma as having two distinct components. There's the competence component, where like so many doctors, injectors are very highly competent. They come off and they can explain the science and they can explain the technology very well to the patient. But the other component of charisma and confidence is the warmth and like that human connection that you bring to the conversation. So before you even go into a consultation, whoever's consulting with your patients has to not only bring the competence side, they have to have mastery of the service, they have to bring that like human touch, the open body language, the smiling, the eye contact, the listening cues. So that's number one. And number two. So once you get your consultation flow and it's defined, and number two, once you have the mindset of what like a proper how an expert shows up charismatically, then number three, you can go into these consultation starting points or talking points. And one thing I like to start with always is that, like, when you're doing a consultation, especially for a first time patient, you want to treat that patient like they're someone from a foreign country coming into your home for the first time. Again, it goes back to like we get used to the environment in which we work. We know where the offices are, the chairs, the products, the machines. Clients coming in for the first time are absorbing it all like these wide eyes like a child, and they're like, what is going on in here? Where do I go? Where do I sit down? So treat that client like a welcomed guest that's staying at your house. Show them where everything is. Introduce them. This is our products over here. This is Maria, our front desk staff. I'm so and so. Like introduce everyone and everything. And then really just get them comfortable and start talking about the journey that you take your clients on. And like how Meg was saying, you make everything seem normal, you make everything seem doable, and you make them think that they're in the right place with you.
Mhm.
And then we start talking, we get down to brass tacks and start talking
Mhm.
about, I'll tell you what not to say. Don't say to a patient, this is my pet peeve, how can I help you? Like, literally, the worst thing. How many times have we had people say, how can I help you today? And I want to scream in their face. I mean, I wouldn't, but I want to. I want to be like, how can you help me? Like, why are you asking me? Like, you should be telling me how you can help me. So don't ever say, how can I help you to a patient? You want to be warm and welcome them. And I think the first thing is, we're so happy to have you here today. Did you have any trouble getting here? I can't wait to hear what brought you in. I can't wait to have a conversation. So that's how you want to start. And then all the questions come in about their past experiences, what they've done, what they want to see, and, all those things. But you got to set the groundwork way before that conversation even
Yeah,
starts. Yeah.
for sure. That personal connection is huge and goes such a long way. And
Right.
as you were saying that, something came to mind, and I had made a note from a conference that I attended. So, and the statistic maybe has gone down a little bit since then, but 70% of women have not been to a med spa because of fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's like a
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
what you're saying, and Meg, what you're saying when it comes to, kind of breaking down these walls, even before, I feel like that is such an opportunity that so many med spas, estheticians, whatever, like there's such an opportunity there to kind of break down those walls. And
Hmm.
the other number that I have is only 3 million people in the United States have had Botox or filler. So that's
Seems
another
so low.
that's
Mhm.
another huge opportunity. So again, that just comes down to fear of the unknown. And that
Hmm.
Mhm.
that was a big conversation at um a conference that I was at is like, there is such an opportunity, and it all, again, the way that you communicate and make people feel comfortable even before they walk in the door
Mhm.
is important. Then once they get there, doing all of those things. And I feel like charisma is, when you say it, like, some people have it or they don't, right? It's
Mhm.
a hard thing to learn.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So do you find that providers have, like, is that one of the biggest challenges, is actually that trait, and in understanding how to, I guess, flex that muscle so that you
Yeah.
that that charisma, that authenticity that's needed?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the thing that, and I spoke about this before, is like confidence seems very ambiguous and like vague. You feel like if you're confident, you're either born with it or you're not. And that's why I like that charisma formula that I mentioned from Vanessa Van Edwards, because it's actually a teachable thing. So instead of feeling like, oh, I have to be born with confidence, I can say, I'm going to work on my charisma, which is that formula of competence, knowing your stuff, and warmth, which is, that personal connection aspect. So just even having the awareness of that is amazing, and it gives you a real framework to start improving it. Some people come off highly competent, and God knows I love a competent injector, or I love someone wielding a laser who's highly competent, but they can come off cold. And
Mhm.
people, they need both. They want you to be highly competent, but they don't want you to come off cold and distant, because then they don't to work with you. They feel like maybe you are judging them, even if you're not. You just come off highly competent. And then there's the other side of that. Some people come off so warm, and they're trying to be your girlfriend right from the start. Hey, yeah, I'm gonna do your
Mhm.
lips. Hey, girl, sit in the chair. Let's do it. Okay, I get it. You're trying to make me comfortable and you're very warm, but now I'm worried that you might screw up my face. Right. So
Yeah.
coming off too warm is a problem, because
Mhm.
I'm nervous now that you're going to mess something up. Coming off too competent can come off cold and clinical. So it's really that fine line. So you have to look at yourself and being like, what am I conveying with body language, wording, eye contact? And of course, you got to know your stuff as well. So that's the biggest thing that I think people don't know, especially in the medical arena, because people are so highly educated, so highly competent and scientific. Don't forget the warmth
Mhm.
factor too. You got to dial that up.
Yeah.
Especially in, like, this is your podcast. It's cash pay, right? These
Right.
are elective services. This is not my, my annual physical appointment. I don't have to go, right? So if I have a choice to go to a facility where they nail that metric of charisma, or someone that doesn't, I'm going to go to the one where I feel the best.
Yeah, and that
So,
Mhm.
actually plays into one of the points that Meg had, which is, when it comes to your content, your posts, and your captions, what that gets, this is exactly what I need. So,
mhm.
and I'm curious about that, and, what the formula is that you can share that people can start to think about and use when they are developing their content. Like, what is it that is going to strike someone to say, like, this is exactly what I need, and get them to, like, stop and acknowledge?
Yeah, so I teach emotion focused marketing. The way you're going to stand out from saturation is by connecting to an emotion. So a lot of estheticians and spa owners message me and they're like, "Oh, my marketing isn't good. I'm comparing myself to da 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 da."
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, when you don't know who you truly are, you enter this state of desperation, which I think is the worst place for anyone to be in terms of social media, because then you start looking at everyone else. You start switching up tons of things, which dilutes your brand. People start thinking like, why are they posting this? This doesn't really sound like them. If you are feeling like you're in that state or your content isn't really hitting, maybe you're getting likes, but you're not actually getting bookings, you need to put on your blinders and just focus on your business, who you help, what are they currently dealing with. So that's why I'm really big on emotions. Like, what are your followers or soon to be clients, what are they feeling right now? Like, they're feeling anxiety over their skin. They're feeling scared. They're feeling like they're going to be judged. They're probably scared of screwing up their face with a needle, right? If they've never done Botox or filler. So, how can you create content around that that makes them feel heard, but not judged? So, I share a lot about educating with empathy, because people are coming to your content with varying degrees of mental states. Some people are feeling very down. They've struggled with their skin for a long time. They are very scared of being judged. So if you put out a piece of content that make someone feel judged, it's so easy. Like it's just you're gonna lose people because it's
Mhm.
such like a high emotion mental state they're in already. Like they're just like waiting to be because that's their fear. Their fear is being judged. So if you're doing these consultations in your treatment room that's so warm and empathetic, you want to make sure you're showcasing that on your social media. Like you're putting out content saying like when you come in for a consultation, this is what you can expect. And you have the person who they're actually going to meet for their consultation is potentially in doing a talking reel where they're talking about what to expect in the consultation.
Yes.
One thing, one so B-roll reels are really strategic and not enough people are using these, but you know when you see a reel of someone getting a facial or talking with their esthetician online, get strategic with the pieces of content you're grabbing. Can you catch moments of emotion? Can you not focus on you doing the treatment with them, but perhaps the little conversations you have between where the client in the treatment bed is smiling,
Yeah, I love that.
right? Like because you don't even have to talk in those videos. You could just put up a 7-second B-roll. You could do a clip, like a text pop up and have audio, have music in the background. So you don't even have to worry about what's being said. But those little hits of emotion, because
They
the people
resonate.
who, yeah, they
Yeah.
resonate. And the
Yeah.
people who've already bought in are in your treatment room. That's where your followers want to be. So they're seeing what those people are experiencing. So I think it's a really underutilized format of content is just catching those little B-roll emotional bits and working that into your content. And then, yeah, just make sure you're always educating with empathy. You don't want to ever assume that the majority of your followers have a specific mindset because not everyone will have that. And
Mhm.
then I also wanted to share about because we were talking about in the treatment room with Elizabeth, one thing her and I talk about a lot is customer service
Yes.
Mm.
is the art of customer service feels like it's kind of struggling. And I think because we're on our phones so much, we're potentially losing our real person skills. Like, don't underestimate saying their name, having eye contact. Make sure your receptionists do not are not on their phone,
You were
are not gossiping or even
Lord, no.
or even whispering. Like you don't want
Yeah.
them to be
I have
chatting and
so much to
whispering.
say about this. It could be a whole 'nother episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
well, the thing is with marketing and sales, it's like you can do so much online, but if your experience that you portray online does not match
Yeah, that's a biggie.
in real life, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. Like, what's the point? Because you're going to scare off people, and then people will be like, "Well, I'm doing all this stuff." People come in, and then they don't rebook, and it's like, "Well, what's their experience like?" And that's why Elizabeth and I we complement each other so well because it does go hand in hand. Sales in the treatment room, sales online, they need to match up. Your client experience needs to match up, or else you're not going
Yeah,
to get
of course. Yeah.
rebookings.
It
Yeah.
all 100% needs to be consistent, and I
Mhm.
can't agree more that, when it comes to, that connection and, like Elizabeth was saying, the charisma, personality, authenticity, all like
Yep.
so much of that is being lost because of, AI and things that in automations. And my prediction is that while these things can be good in creating efficiencies and things like that, the businesses and practices, and this is across the board in business, that understand that there has to be a balance between the humanization, the human element,
Mhm.
and AI.
Yep.
Mhm.
And, because we are already so disconnected, even just because of the phone. So if now you're thinking that your practice is going to run completely on an artificial person when you're dealing with people, like,
People don't want that. They don't want a robot, especially when you're dealing with your face.
Yeah, no.
And
yeah,
Elizabeth's really good at this. She talks a lot about creating an escape. So if you consider your clients how the mental state they're in when they come in because of social media, I actually read this really good book called Dopamine Nation that talks
mhm,
about how social media is making us we're like constantly looking for that next like that high on social media and how that's impacting our brains. And I think aesthetic professionals should be reading a lot more about how social media impacts the brains of people because those are the people who are walking through your door. And
Mhm.
if they're coming in and they're like in a flurry because before they came in, they were probably deep on Reddit for an hour looking up skincare horror stories about what they could potentially be getting in your treatment room, like how are you able to craft a service where the minute they walk in, you're saying their name, you're giving them eye contact, you're providing them that space where they can slow down because their brains are going a mile a minute because of social media and of all the emotions they're probably feeling, they're probably nervous. So Elizabeth's really good at that, like teaching how you can, she's always talks about have a tea for them, give them
Mhm.
like a slow down, or before you start your treatment with them, if you're doing a facial, like be like, okay, we're going to do a couple moments of like deep breath.
Mhm.
People, AI can't really give you that. I think that touch services are going to become really big. Um,
Premium, premium.
yeah,
Yeah.
it almost should be expected with your facial services that you have some degree of touch, whether it's like a scalp massage or like a facial massage or a neck. Like I think people are coming in like pretty stressed out, and we can bring in those two aspects of both getting them the results they want, but also that relaxation. And I think that little relaxation part, that experience, that escape can help you solidify your space like in their mind, kind of like, oh, I should come back. It was so much more than just getting my Botox done. It was an experience.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, for
Hmm.
sure. One of the things, Elizabeth, that you had on your list that I wanted to talk about before we end this is rebooking strategies. So one of the things that I talk to my clients about is don't let someone leave without booking their next appointment, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
That's an obvious thing.
Yep.
But aside from that, it's easy to do that when when somebody needs to come back in 3 months for Botox. But for other things, do you have any pointers or suggestions on how to get that rebooking?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the rebooking is the end of the journey, of the client journey, right? That's towards the end when the service is over and they're coming out. Rebooking starts at the consultation. So if we go full circle to where the client starts, in the consultation is where you're going to mention things like these long-term treatment plans that is like I'm the broken record about that. Rebooking they're going to anticipate being rebooked if you've already discussed what working with you looks like. And that should look like short-term goals and long-term goals. And when I say long-term, I don't mean like 4 to 6 weeks. Long-term is years.
Right.
So when you have that initial consultation and you're telling, your patients for the next 6 months we're going to do this, the following 6 to 12 months we're doing this, and then next year and the year following we're going to focus on this, you're setting them up for years of being with your company. And who doesn't want clients that are coming back for years on end? And so once you do that and you say like these are the plans, short term and long term, when you get to the end of your treatment, it's obvious that they're rebooking because they're already bought into the idea that this is a long term relationship. Like, I joke that with these types of relationships, like when I was in the treatment room at a med spa, I was like their skincare spouse. Like, I was like, I'm in it, we're in it for life, like you and me. And I'm going to be by your side this whole time, like from the horrible peeling, from everything, the ugly in between. Like, I'm holding your hand through this entire thing. So there was no question that they were rebooking because they were like, I got to get on this girl's schedule before I lose my slot. So rebooking, the conversation about rebooking starts at the consult. And then if you want to get into just some real quick wins with rebooking, I guess I would say there's definitely language. It's not, can I make your next appointment? No. You cannot make my next appointment, right? Like, if someone says that to me, I'll say no, and I'll walk away just to teach them a lesson. So you're setting up that future plan and it's personalized. So I'm going to say, you know what, Rebecca, it looks like this Tuesday at 2:30 works really well for you. Let's lock it in. I want it to be locked in because I want to make sure we stay on track. And she's like, okay, great. So it's like you're doing them a favor by rebooking. You're saying, I don't want you to lose this slot. I want to book you in. I want to make it convenient for them. Like, you want to make sure that they stay on track and this becomes a habit. So that I might say, you know what we should do? I want to set up standing appointments for you. So on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, I'm going to put you on.
Right.
And they can look a little deer in the headlights, but I'm like, no, no, don't worry. You can call in and change them anytime, but I want you and I to know that we're going to meet. And
Mhm.
then they love that. They're like, wow, you're really taking the initiative to make sure that I come back. And it's really about like ease for them,
Right.
habit for them. You're being the expert and you're leading. And then also you're keeping the momentum going.
Mhm.
If someone just lets me walk away from their med spa and they're like, can I make another appointment for you? And I'm like, no. And I walk away. If that was my employee, I would probably run around the corner and be like,
Yeah,
what did you just do? Yeah.
yeah.
It's such a huge revenue leak for your business. letting clients dictate whether or not they're going to come back. They're coming back, right? It's like you want to have that confidence of you're coming back. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're getting you on the
Right.
schedule. So
Yeah.
that's the mentality that you want to instill in your staff, instill in yourself. Because if you don't believe, if you're not confident in your treatment plans and you haven't planted those seeds in the consultation, why would the client ever come back to see you? You know, they're going to go to someone else who will plant all those seeds for them.
Yeah, for
So I
sure.
think that's really crucial.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Elizabeth, I've been in instances where, say, I get my Botox, and then the practitioner who does my Botox does not check me out. Would you say there's a
Yeah,
benefit for the practice? Because then it's like, well, what's the communication? Like, how can the receptionist still, granted that that should be a large part of the receptionist's job, is that they have
right.
that charisma and warmth. You should be hiring, I would assume, for that
Yeah,
because they have to continue that. Or should the practitioner come out of the room with you and kind of be the liaison between you and the receptionist and be like, yeah, like let's continue as we just talked about in the treatment room. We
yep,
want to get you booked for the next 3 months. So Sarah, the receptionist here, is going to help you get. Do
yes.
you think they really need that? Do you think the practitioner should come out of the room and really assist in the booking process, or should it be something
Mhm.
that should be put in the receptionist's hands totally?
I mean, sometimes I get it. Sometimes
Like it has to.
be put in the receptionist's hands, but
Yeah.
it only takes 10 seconds to walk with that patient out of the room to the front desk. It's not that long of a walk. You walk out with them, you tell them how great it was to see them. And then once you get to the reception area, you say, okay, you say it to the client, or you say it to the reception. It's an earshot of everyone. I need to see you back in 6 weeks. I need to see you back in 8 weeks. Please call me if anything comes up. You definitely need that bridge between
Mhm.
provider and reception. I don't think you should just shoo somebody out of your treatment room and then they turn around and they see you wiping things down, getting ready for the conveyor belt of the next patient to come in. They should have that respect of being walked out of your house. You wouldn't just tell your guest while you're standing at your stove, see you later, dude, and like let them walk out your front door. You would walk them
Mhm.
to the door, walk them to their car. Same hospitality should go
Mhm.
with a patient in your spa, definitely. And then it's that continuum and that bridge to the rebook.
Mhm.
And it's almost in the patient eyes, it looks like, wow, Dr. So and so really cares that I come
Mhm.
back.
Yes. Yes.
And they're recommending that. And that's my prescription. So I have to follow through,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, and I think practitioners might think like, "Oh, they're gonna feel like they're being sold to," but they're not. They're already
No,
bought in. They're in your treatment room.
no, I love
Like
you. Yeah, I
I
want
don't
to
yeah,
know
they're
that you want me to come back. Yeah, yeah.
No, for sure. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to see if either one of you have any parting words or any advice that we should give as a takeaway, or if not, if each one of you wants to share where you can be found, if somebody wants to work with you. Meg has an amazing content membership that will help support everything that we've been talking about today from a social media perspective. So definitely want her to talk about
Mhm.
that. But if there's
Yeah.
anything else that you all would like to say before we part ways for today.
I'm just looking at my notes. There was a type of content, a reel that I really wanted to share. I would love if practitioners and estheticians can more humanize their clients online.
Uh-huh.
Instead of saying like a before and after, like can you share your client's first name? Can you say that Sarah's been with me for 3 years and because of her consistency to her home care and her in treatment room visits, look at these amazing results we've got for her skin. I think you need to humanize your clients more. And then a specific reel format I share with everyone is using the green screen tool, having a client before and after in the background. And then you are in the front and you talk about how you got your client from point A to point B in that reel, but you're also mentioning the emotions they were feeling before they booked with you.
I love that.
I teach a lot of content. Like, I don't, you'll never hear me say, this is how you're going to go viral because I don't care about making you go viral. A lot of the content that gets the conversions and the bookings is like sneaky content. It's not content that's going to really, it could pop off, but not all the time it's going to pop off, but it's really persuasive content and you're humanizing the experience so that you're removing those barriers between the follower turning into a client to book. And I think that those green like humanizing your clients and your before and afters and then making sure you're doing these treatment reels where you're sharing how you got your client from point A to point B is they should definitely be a very permanent part of your content strategy.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Mhm.
Such good pointers for sure. I love it. Elizabeth?
Let's see. So, as we were saying with the humanization and the I totally agree. That's where we are. That's the prediction. You can use AI, obviously, to make your business run so much more efficiently, but all that free time that you get now needs to be used to calibrate towards the human beings that are coming into your practice, right?
Mhm.
We are going to use AI and it's an amazing tool. I can't live without it now. But the humans, the patients that you have and the customers and the clients will always be human. AI will never replace our
No.
clients, right? So we have more free time, use it to work on that human element. And really it's about making sure, and this is where Meg and I converge. It's whether it's online or in your treatment room, the emotional tone of your experience needs to land. You will lose clients and patients. You can be the best injector in the world, but if the emotional tone and the emotional presence and the experience doesn't land in this world that we live in of aesthetics and a cash pay environment, they will go somewhere else where it does.
Mhm.
And even if that other place has inferior services and maybe they have inferior technology, it won't matter. I'd say that the other big takeaway is that clients aren't really obsessed with your modality. That's not a deal breaker for them, how you exfoliate, how you inject Xeomin versus Botox. They want the experience of being held and led and guided by you. So that needs to be your number one priority.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I agree. Well, thank you both so much. I think there was a lot of valuable
Mhm.
information and advice shared today. Meg, do you want
Thank
to
you.
let the listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My handle is marketingwmeg, or they could go on my website, which is meganobrien.net. That's where you can learn about the SD Content Club or the Waxers Content Club, which are my content and marketing subscriptions. More like community now because we're doing more like strategy calls. But in that, I share with you the content that I've talked about a lot, the content that focuses more on sales psychology, transformations, building authority. Like, I don't want to create content where you're out there putting out skin tips and myth versus facts because that doesn't really get the ball rolling. I kind of created the content that you need to be posting the content that is persuasive and sneaky and plays into sales psychology, which is the content that gets you actual sales and bookings.
And Elizabeth?
Yes. So I welcome all of you to come to my website. It's elizabethdonat.com. And there I have a navigation on my site just for spa and beauty pros. So head over to that area specifically where you'll see my press and PR on demand course, which is a self led course that you can grab anytime and start getting your own press. And then I also have my in spa coaching services, which really lights me up. It's something that I love to do. I have incredible reviews of people where they feel like their staff and their team has recalibrated overnight with some of this emotional presence and flow of service training. So you need to kick your team into high gear. I can definitely come in and do that. And it's typically like a 3-day package. And then just say hi to me on Instagram. I'm there pretty actively, Elizabeth and Donut at Instagram. So can't wait to see you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks so much
Thank
for
you so
having
much,
us.
Hillary.
Thank you.
If you're not intentionally shaping your client experience both inside and outside of the treatment room, you're likely missing opportunities to build loyalty, increase rebooking, and grow your revenue. To find our guests and connect with me, visit the show description for all the links and resources mentioned in this episode. Thank you for listening to the Cash Pay Podcast. If you found today's conversation valuable, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us bring you more insightful episodes. See you next time.